These sisters are having a ton of trouble with their entertaining area.
Things just keep on breaking, and it's just not attractive.
So we'll give their kitchen a complete social makeover in just 2 weeks, showing you how to remove and repurpose faux beams, build a butcher block countertop from scratch, and add a rockin' indoor-outdoor sound system.
Simple as can be.
That is simple.
To make their kitchen the perfect place to party.
I can't wait to have people over for the first time and use everything.
As a carpenter and electrician, I've seen it all.
The face of the drawer continues to just fall off.
But when things go wrong,
This is what happens.
that's when they call me. I'm Marc Bartolomeo, and this is Kitchen Impossible.
Marketing manager Courtney Colbert purchased her first home 5 years ago, and it wasn't long before her younger sister Cameron, a customer service specialist, moved in. And they love to entertain, but have since realized that their social hub is in need of help.
Counter space is a bit of a challenge for us. It doesn't really leave us much room to do any prep work, even put the food out. We don't have places for people to sit.
And not to mention, cleanup is very difficult, especially with the dishwasher being broken.
Now, the sisters haven't let their kitchen slip by without any TLC. They've already done a lot.
This is an area where we used to have our oven. Unfortunately, it ceased to work at one point. We installed this oven right here, but unfortunately, as a result of installation, we ended up with a bit of a hole to nowhere.
Things just keep on breaking, and it's just not attractive.
It's time for a change.
So this kitchen doesn't look entirely conducive to entertaining. Your deck looks like it's fun, and I know you girls are. So what's missing in here?
Our refrigerator, it's smack dab in the middle of the room. It takes up a lot of space. I'd love to see that moved somewhere else, out of the flow of traffic.
Definitely.
And kind of open this wall up.
Good idea. Cut that wall in half, create a bar top.
Yeah.
The only thing missing would be music.
Well, maybe not. I think I could accommodate that request as well. I have some really fun things in my plan included here for you girls. You wanna see it?
Can we?
Yes.
In addition to opening a bar area into the living room, we'll add maple cabinetry on each side of the room and in the center to create an island. The countertops will be cream-colored granite, except on that island, which will be topped with a butcher block surface that we'll make from scratch. We'll then add ceramic tile to the floor and backsplash, bring in all new stainless steel appliances, and wire the kitchen for sound.
It's exactly what I had in mind, and I never thought I had room because of that stupid fridge.
Well, I'll be back tomorrow morning with the crew, and this kitchen will rock.
Can't wait.
When we're done.
Awesome.
So the sisters have had the night to say goodbye to their quiet kitchen, and here, on day 2, things are gonna get loud. Now, before we go ripping into these coffered boxes, how do you feel about them?
If we could save them, it'd be wonderful.
After we scored and removed all the trim from the ceiling, safely removed the faux beam, we just took it all and we nailed in every single nail that was holding it in place through the surface of the faux beam and deeper into the nailer, freeing up the faux beam. Once we did that, pulling them down was no problem at all.
Yay!
Cameron, I was so excited when I left here yesterday. I immediately ran to an audio-video department and I picked up speakers for your kitchen area, and I have a set of speakers that we're going to mount outside eventually for your deck.
That's awesome.
We're going to be fishing wires or snaking wires from point A in the pantry where the receiver and CD unit is going to be situated to point B. And we have to determine the position of the indoor speakers and the outdoor speakers.
Why don't we do it centrally located in line with the island?
That makes perfect sense. But all we're going to use is the template that came with the speaker in the box. Draw that mark out on the ceiling, and you're going to use a keyhole saw to cut that out, and then that'll give us access to push the snake in. Now we have to get our exit point right here, because we're going to push our snake in there, come out here, and then this has to go all the way from this point, which is in this bay, over to that corner where the receiver is. You need to get across the beam, and you're going to cut a little trench, a little notch, and that's the cable's going to snake and jump in and out of the ceiling, and then you can mud or compound right over that. Now we get to the snake. This is called a fish tape. I'm gonna push it to you in the big hole. You can get your arm up in there and feel for it.
Why are you doing the snake as opposed to just doing the wire?
Because the wire has no body to it, it's completely flimsy. You need something that's long and stiff, but it's also something that's wiry and malleable enough that it can get around and work its way up and down and over obstructions.
Gotcha.
See?
Look at that.
All right, I have here a 100-foot spool of speaker wire, and this is what we're using to run from the receiver to send a signal over to the individual overhead speakers. And we're using a 16-gauge wire in this particular installation. All right, the tip of a snake is called the nose, right? It's the furthest point out. And that's what you attach the wire to. I'll be pulling the snake, you'll feed it in, pulling it off the roll. This will go like butter. That's enough. Now we have 3 cables going in this direction. One is going for the overhead indoor speaker. The other 2 are going for the overhead outdoor speakers. We are what's known as officially roughed in. The cables are run to their respective locations. We're not going to install any of the devices or the instruments until the drywall is patched, it's sanded, and probably painted so we don't ruin them. And you are wired for future sound.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the next step and get the sound rocking.
This is awesome. This kitchen is going to be rocking.
Up next on Kitchen Impossible, I'll show you how to save hundreds of dollars by building your very own butcher block countertop.
Listen to this.
That's pretty heavy.
And what not to do when installing speakers.
Ooh, don't want to do that.
When we come back.
I couldn't be happier with the progress in the Colbert sisters' kitchen.
We've already tiled the floor and even managed to install all of the cabinets in time to template for the granite portion of our countertops.
So, are you ready to find the perfect wood to top your island?
I don't really know a lot about wood, but I'm excited to see.
We're looking for hardwood. Hardwood's important for a butcher block countertop because it's prone to cutting, chopping, dings and dents. Let's go find them.
Excellent.
You can do a test between softwood and hardwood. You could take a fingernail and push it into the wood. If you leave a mark, then you know you're working with a soft wood.
Okay.
If you leave a small mark, then you have a medium density wood. If you leave no mark, then you're dealing with an extremely hard wood.
Excellent.
Hard American woods are oak, cherry, and maple. Let's go around to the other side and see what's available. And here we go. We have American hard maple. Now this is butcher block thickness. Listen to this.
It's pretty heavy.
That is heavy, heavy lumber.
No joke.
I like it.
What do you think? Should we go with it?
I really like it.
Okay.
It's light enough to go with your kitchen scheme and the design. Definitely durable enough for a butcher block countertop, for sure. I'm gonna ask if we can go over to their mill shop because we're gonna have to cut this down to size here. This machine is gonna trim off the lumber so that we have a nice, clean, straight edge. All the boards essentially are gonna be sitting up on edge like so. Passing it through the straight line rip is going to take off, number 1, the rough lumber edge, plus give us a nice clean edge, which will be the top surface of your butcher block countertop.
Perfect.
No matter the thickness of the boards, each of these rips will be exactly the same height, which is slightly more than the 1.5 inch thickness of the overall countertop. And we'll be able to get multiple rips out of the same board so we can maximize our material, and that's good. John, thank you very much. You're quite welcome. We've settled on hard maple wood for our butcher block countertops. No matter the type of lumber you choose, it is vital that it's properly dried. So freshly cut or green lumber is moist and should not be used under any circumstances. So hardware stores and lumber yards like this already supply wood that has been pre-dried in kilns. Most of these kilns are humidity controlled and the lumber is evenly spaced inside to maximize uniform airflow around the lumber. Now the temperatures within start at about 110 degrees Fahrenheit and max out at 190. This process is the quickest way to allow lumber to dry evenly so it contracts without warping, and it usually results in a wood with a moisture content of about 6 to 8%, which I think is ideal for creating an awesome and professional looking butcher block countertop. They're all going to be placed up like so. we'll bring the next piece in. So in addition to gluing the first piece to the second piece, we're going to take a 2.5-inch screw, drive it through the back of the second piece and into the first piece about halfway.
Stronger support?
Stronger support. If you were to bump any pieces of the middle, they can't go anywhere because they're wedged in.
Right.
These guys are the most vulnerable to coming off of the butcher block. Now we're going to take this off for now, and then we're going to remove these two center clamps. These are pipe clamps. They're wood clamps. Once you put any two pieces of wood in together that are glued, you crank down on this handle here. It tightens, keeps the unit compressed until it's dried. Once we get the whole piece clamped with just these two, we're going to take those remaining two on the top side. So we're going to have two underneath and then two on top.
Okay.
All we have to do now is glue the top of each piece, stick it to the previous piece, and then glue each of the subsequent pieces till we get to the final two. Now, these clamps work the same way as a vise. In fact, they are a vise. We pull the outside pieces in, that clamps it tight. Now we're going to crank down by turning this threaded handle here.
I see what you mean. It's getting messier.
Yes. Now it's going to squeeze out all the glue. You'll get the rag with the warm water and start wiping off any of the excess glue. And here it lies for the next 6 to 8 hours minimum. Since we're not taking it out to be drum sanded for tomorrow afternoon, we'll leave it in the clamps till late morning. By that time, it will have anywhere between 18 to 20 hours drying time.
I don't usually make things, so knowing that I can walk into the kitchen and see this is pretty impressive.
Coming up on Kitchen Impossible, I'll show you how to add interest to a boring ceiling.
It looks naked without anything up there right now.
And all the steps to complete your butcher block countertop.
This came out amazing.
But first, a quick question. When running speaker wires in close proximity with electrical cables, how should they be run? Is it A, parallel, or B, perpendicular? The answer is on its way. When running speaker wires in close proximity to electrical cables, how should they be run? The answer is B, perpendicular. Try to keep speaker wire and electrical runs in separate bays if possible. But if they absolutely must be run within a few feet of one another, the shorter the point of contact, the better. So cross the wires at a 90-degree angle to avoid magnetic interference.
We're entering our 11th day here in the Colbert sisters' kitchen.
We installed under-cabinet lights, painted the ceiling, and we've almost completed the cabinets by adding crown molding and putting the doors back on before adding light rail to the bottom.
And today we are going to amp things up. Are you ready to pick up on what we took down about 10 days ago?
Sure.
I had aspirations of reusing some of the faux beams up on the ceiling.
Okay.
I was thinking of just framing out the island right here. How does that grab you?
I think that's great. I mean, it's keeping a little bit of the class that we had before. We're repurposing them and we're keeping them around.
So we're going to take these 4 pieces that we have laid out.
Okay.
We're going to cut them so that we don't see any unfinished edges. We're going to miter all the corners.
Okay.
Let me introduce you to your new friend.
Okay.
This is a Palm Orbital Sander.
Okay.
It is 120 grit, it's medium grit. So it's not too coarse, and it's not fine. We're going to assemble it real quickly. Now we're going to rub it down, make sure all the dust is off of it, and we're going to poly it using this super fast-drying semi-gloss poly.
Got it. So what does polyurethane do again?
Gives it a nice high gloss, helps to bring out all the tones, but it protects it from getting stained or wet or dirty.
Okay.
And you want to be sure that the rag that you use is lint-free. Very important.
Okay.
All those little fibers will get stuck to your finish. While that's drying, we'll go install the nailers. That's all the support we're going to need for the shadow box.
Great.
That's outside drying. I'm going to get Cameron, and we're finally going to install the ceiling speakers.
All right. Well, I'm just happy to see this taking shape.
So all of our speaker wires have been roughed in last week, and now we have a finished ceiling, which means that we can finally install your in-ceiling speakers.
We need the big sound.
All we have to do is pull the wires out of the ceiling, strip them back. You don't want to have too much of the copper sticking out, because if those 2 wires cross the positive and negative, you could potentially blow out your amplifier.
Ooh, don't want to do that.
we're going to use the insulated conductor with the writing on it as our positive.
Okay.
So we'll know that from now on, everything that's going to go under the plus or the positive screw terminal is going to be the insulator with the writing on it. Now it's going to go up into the ceiling. We have 4 screws that hold it in place. And last but not least, we pop the grill in. And that's it. Simple as can be.
That is simple.
That's the left channel. We have to do the same thing to the right channel.
Okay. Yeah, that was simple.
Speakers are in and done. All right, we're gonna go outside and we're gonna hook up the outdoor exterior speakers. These are weatherproof. We just hang them and they play.
I like that.
That's it. So my guys drilled through your foundation wall, your cement block a few days ago with a masonry bit, 1/2-inch bit. We're gonna use another masonry bit, but a 1/4 inch, and that's for the plastic plugs that go inside and through these mounting holes. That one's all done. We're gonna go on that side, hook up its twin, then we're gonna connect all 4 of these speakers inside to your pantry closet where we have the receiver and a speaker selector box. This is your receiver. You have an MP3 player, USB port if you want to plug in a laptop, AM/FM tuner, as well as a CD player.
Excellent.
This unit down here below is known as a speaker selector.
So I can have the music on in here, but not outside.
Completely off out there.
Okay.
Whatever music is coming out of the receiver, whatever output's coming out, can go into this box and then split out to 4 different sets of speakers, meaning 8 speakers total.
Okay, so technically if we wanted to add some for the living room, we could at one point.
The basement.
Excellent.
Let's pick the 2 longest sets.
Okay.
I'm gonna cut some off of this for jumpers, all right?
What are jumpers?
The jumpers are gonna be what takes us from your output from the receiver and into the speaker selector.
Okay. You know, this is great, because now I'll be able to have that for when we have parties outside and actually when I'm cooking by myself.
Or when you're home alone.
Yeah.
For all the steps to install speakers, go to DIYnetwork.com.
Okay, our ceiling shadow box is sufficiently dry. Are you ready to install?
I am.
The faux beams are gonna slip over the nailers, over the cleats, and then we're gonna have to measure off the edges of these electrical boxes. We'll find that measurement, make sure it's symmetrical, and then we're gonna shoot it the same way that they did previously, through the side and into the 2x4 nailer.
Great. I think it looks great.
Me too.
I think it's really going to draw attention to the center of the room.
Up next on Kitchen Impossible, this new social hub will be the talk of the party.
I can't believe how wonderful it turned out.
RSVP when we return.
We're starting our final day here, and the Sisters Kitchen is almost ready to accept guests.
We installed the hood and finally got the countertops in, so we're able to tile the backsplash. We then installed the appliances, the pendant lights, and hit the walls with some color.
So this looks a whole lot different than it did only a few days ago, huh?
I know, it looks amazing.
So let me give you the rundown on how the butcher block arrived at this point.
Okay.
We brought it to the woodworking shop and they sent it through a large sander with high grit paper. Once all the ridges came out, they changed the belts to a finer grit sandpaper. When they get to this point, they leave it alone. They run the sides of the butcher block through a planer to remove all the glue. And then they clean up that edge with the table saw. Remember we had all those staggered joints?
Right.
They were all passing through each other. It makes this nice, beautiful edge. Now that it's home, we're gonna take it to the next step.
So what are the next steps?
We're gonna round out these 4 corners with the belt sander.
Okay.
And then we're gonna round over the top edges with a router. The last step in the fine-tuning process is to run over the butcher block with the orbital sander that we used the other day. And this is an extra fine sandpaper. Because anything that remains on here, once we put the finish on, is gonna show up 10 times. Let's carry it in.
Okay.
We'll lay it down on top of the cabinets, we'll wipe it down, and then we'll secure it. Okay, so here is our non-toxic, food-grade safe sealer. And then we're gonna apply this in circular motions, same like you wax a car.
Okay.
A few minutes has elapsed. Let's take our rags, new clean rags, and we're gonna wipe with the grain.
All right, this came out amazing. I can't believe we built it.
Your kitchen's officially done. This is gonna dry 2 to 3 hours. In the meantime, we're gonna take our rags and clean the kitchen down.
I can't believe how wonderful it turned out. It's everything that I expected it to be, and then some.
We had no working appliances before. Now look, we have all new appliances and room to entertain. I can actually put food out now, Court.
The butcher block top is everything that we wanted it to be and more. I mean, before we didn't have room for it with that refrigerator. This is a dream come true, actually finding the room and making it, putting it in here.
I know.
I'm very excited that we were able to kind of recycle some of those old ceiling beams and create this shadow box. And I love how it mirrors the butcher block exactly.
Mark, these speakers are the icing on the cake with this room.
We're gonna throw a heck of a party, and I can't wait to have people over for the first time and use everything.
I'm here. There's a party in this room as far as I'm concerned.
Let's
Wanna
go.
go for it?
Yeah.
All right, let's go for it.